Hello and welcome. Today we're going to discuss plagiarism. This is a follow-up to our previous discussion of plagiarism, and this one I think gives you a little bit more insight now that you've written a few papers in the class and submitted a few documents. You may have some questions, and my hope is that this presentation will help to clear up those questions. Plagiarism. According to the Publication Manual of the American Psychological Association, 6th edition, researchers do not claim the words and ideas of others as their own. They give credit where credit is due. According to Aaron, 2001, plagiarism comes from the word kidnapper. It is basically the presentation of someone else's ideas or words as your own. Plagiarism can be deliberate, or plagiarism can be accidental. Regardless of how plagiarism actually occurs, plagiarism is a serious and often punishable offense, which is very serious in the eyes of academicians at universities. I'm going to talk a little bit about paraphrasing first. Paraphrasing. Basically what you're doing is you're reading the relevant material several times to make sure you understand it, and then you're basically just restating the source's ideas in your own words and sentence structures. You need not put down the new words, the whole passage, or all the details. Select what you think is important, what you think is relevant, and then restate only that. If complete sentences seem too cumbersome, use phrases as in the paraphrase opposite. Be careful, and this is very important, not to distort the meaning of the author. Be respectful of that. Now, when you're not paraphrasing, meaning you're not taking the author's words and making them your own by putting your own emphasis on the thoughts that the author had, your own spin, as you will, you can actually be providing direct quotations. Now here's a test for direct quotations. The author's original satisfies one of these requirements. The language is unusually vivid, bold, or inventive. The quotation cannot be paraphrased without distortion or loss of meaning. The words themselves are at issue in your interpretation. The quotation represents and emphasizes a body of opinion or the view of an important expert. The quotation emphatically reinforces your own idea. Or the quotation is a graph, diagram, or table. The quotation is as short as possible as it only includes materials relevant to your point. It is edited to eliminate examples or other unneeded material. You want to make sure that if you're using direct quotations that you're very careful not to use direct quotations excessively. That direct quotation should mean that those words are so perfect that you could not even fathom a way to paraphrase. Paraphrasing, of course, is preferable. Let's talk a little bit about self-plagiarism. I am sure there's many a student who has probably thought to themselves, self-plagiarism? How could I do that? How could I plagiarize myself? Well, you actually can. In the same way that individuals should not copy the works of others, individuals, meaning you, students, should not use previously published work as new in terms of scholarship. The exception is when duplicated words are limited in scope. So let's think about this for a moment. Let's say, hypothetically, you're taking a course in English 101, and you're asked to talk about Shakespeare. And you write an entire document about Shakespeare. It's very good. You submit your paper, you get an A, you're very self-impressed at the moment, and you move on and you're in another class. Well, you decide that this particular instructor tells you that he needs a particular paper and it needs to be written on authors. And you decide, wait a minute, I wrote about Shakespeare in a previous class. You know what? I got an A in that. I think I'll just go take the pages, some of the pages that I wrote, and insert them into the new document. You have basically just self-plagiarized. You are using a document that was previously submitted for a grade, and you're taking that document word for word and you're moving it and inserting it into the new one. Keep in mind also that plagiarism checkers such as Turnitin will identify this rather rapidly, and it could be considered a very serious offense, so please be very careful. Questions to ask yourself in order to avoid plagiarism. What types of sources are you using? Are your quotations exact? Have you represented the original author's work properly and without distortion? Is your reference list complete? What I've seen over the years as an instructor or a facilitator, I can tell you, is that last bullet point. Is your reference list complete? When you have completed your entire paper, it is essential that you go back and you put a check mark next to every single reference. Go search in your paper, find it, and put it in the reference. Now, I've seen all varieties of errors from having the reference in the reference page but never having it in the paper, or having it in the paper and not having it on the reference page. Either one is an egregious error. You really can't do that when you're submitting a paper. That reference must be cited. If it's not there, the other question is, why are you citing it? So be very careful. Just take a moment, go to the back of your paper, put a little check mark next to everyone you find, go through, maybe take a highlighter, and just highlight all the authors and match one against the other. Remember, too, you do a lot of changes when you're writing a paper. You'll start out with one idea, you'll move on to something else, whatever. And you will, maybe in writing your paper, you'll actually take an author out, and then you'll forget to delete them from the references. So if you take this little extra added step, you should be fine. I also wanted to make sure that you take a look at how leadership and plagiarism go hand in hand. You may see, what do these two concepts have anything to do with one another? Oh, they have everything to do with one another. According to Dubrin, leadership is defined as the ability to inspire confidence and support among the people who are needed to reach organizational goals. As a future leader, which I anticipate you will be, would committing academic dishonesty inspire confidence and support among the people who are needed to achieve organizational goals? I would think not. The last page of this PowerPoint slide actually provides references. I, like you, have to be careful because I used other sources to provide this PowerPoint presentation. So I have to take a moment to make sure that everything is done properly as well. I do truly hope you enjoyed this presentation. I do think it's digging in a little deeper and a little bit beyond what we discussed in our first presentation, but plagiarism is a serious topic in universities, so I want to give it its just due. I do hope you have a wonderful day and enjoy our class. Thank you.